Hey there. Woo! Hey, it's great to see you this morning. I'm very excited to be sharing with you part three, the final part of the growth stage. So if you've missed the first couple of them, go back to through my thread here and find the other two videos that I did on the growth stage. There's so much that happens in the growth stage that it's taken three videos to get through it all. So this is the last one. And in this one, I want to focus on a couple of different things. There's like four main points that I want to get across. I want to talk about reemphasize focus, and there, I did it. Last time I talked about focus and how important focus is for you at this stage. It is seriously important because you will be distracted. You're starting to get some money. You're starting to get, what you're getting is revenue. It's not profit probably by this point, unless you're pretty far along in the growth stage. Towards the end of your growth stage, you should start seeing profit, but it's not going to happen right away. So you got to remain relentlessly focused on that one thing you do well. Enough. The other thing you need to do is, at this point, you want to start documenting things. So, so hearing document from a guy who spent 13 years teaching Agile is a really weird thing, but it's true. You want to document things that you're doing so that they are repeatable, so that you don't have to be around to do them all the time. As you grow, you're going to be hiring people. You're going to start to have, 15, 20, 30, 500 people, 800 people possibly in your company as you grow. It depends on the type of company you're running. But I've been with growth companies that are 800, 1,500 people, and they're still in the growth stage. They're just rocketing up because they've got the infusion of cash, because they are able to. You have some really interesting things that happen when you're hiring that fast. One of them is the people who are in the interview circle have a hard time keeping up with their regular work because they're doing interviews so much. I mean, I've literally had people spend 50% of their time doing interviews when they should be doing but when they could be doing other work. So it's a tough time. So you want to document some of the processes that you're using, some of the systems that you're using, but remember the Pareto principle, right? 80-20, 80% of the value comes from 20% of what you do. Wow, that was really loud. I apologize for that sound. So what you really want to do is find that 20% of stuff that you do as an organization that is important, that really gets the work done, and document that. I like to say that the documentation should be barely sufficient. Barely sufficient. That means, it does not mean insufficient. Doesn't mean that you can't get your work done because you don't have that. It means that it's just enough to get the work done. It relates to other concepts in lean manufacturing kinds of ideas, but barely sufficient. Make it barely sufficient. That's the minimum necessary that you can do to get by. The other thing you need to be doing at this point in your process is you need to be working really hard to build your brand. So when you started this phase, nobody knew who you were, right? You're in this idea stage. Nobody had any idea who you are. Startup stage, people start to know who you are. But this is such a tiny population in the startup stage because all you're doing is proofing the idea. Growth stage, you want to sell. Your objective is to grow, to sell. You want to sell your product. You want to get it out there to as many people as possible who are in your perfect target market. So you have to build your brand, and that means it means marketing, that means PR, that means speaking, that means, I don't know, a million ways to do marketing. You could get guest speaking on podcasts or speaking at conferences. You can do a number of things, but you need to build up your brand. So you need to have a brand. Hopefully in the startup stage, you took some time to figure out, okay, what's our brand? What are our colors? What is our logo? What are our values? What's our brand? Who are we? What do we represent? When people think of McDonald's, they think of one thing. When they think of Ruth Chris, they think of something else, right? These are very different brands, but you know exactly what you're getting when you walk into one of those two places. I don't know if Ruth Chris is a West Coast thing. It's a high-end steakhouse, but still a chain steakhouse. And so you need to be building that brand up very strong. Hey, good morning, Sean, Frank. Good to see you. Build your brand so that people know who you are. And at this stage, in the growth stage, remember I said you'd be hiring a lot. So in the startup stage, you were probably a group of 3 to begin with. Usually that's where growth stage startup start, 3 people, and then maybe you hire a couple of VAs or a couple of assistants to help you out. Maybe you start to build a little bit. Maybe you got 5, or maybe you end up with even 10 people at your startup stage. In the growth stage, you are going to expand. And like I was talking about, I've worked with startups in the growth stage that are in 1,000 people. One organization I was working with, in the order of, I think it was 6 months, they doubled their size. So they went from like 400 to 800 people. And what a surprise, you're going to have a reorg. And if you've ever been in a corporate reorg, they can be super, super painful. So don't make them painful. I wrote an article in Search CIO. Please go find it. Search CIO.com. Look up my name, Joseph Flahiff, and you'll find the article on how to do a great reorg, or just ping me and we'll talk it through. I can help you facilitate that, because reorgs can be either super painful or they can actually be a good thing for your organization, for the people in your organization. They can actually come out the other side of a reorg happy, which is surprising if you've ever been through one. And the other thing that you're doing in the growth stage is you have to erase. Maybe it's completely obvious, but you have to scale. You have to know how you're going to scale, and that doesn't just mean growing more people. Sure, there's people, and that's a good thing. You need to know how you're going to do hiring. There's also business process, right? What are the systems that we use? And that's part of that documentation. I said you need to be doing some documentation of that. And then you have the technical systems. So in these 3 areas, you need to be scaling. And what you used to do, so you'll see a trend going this way. What you used to do as a person individually, manually, as a manual process, you will now have some business processes around so that you as a founder can give that away. It's important that you give away ownership. And that doesn't mean you tell people what to do. That means you give them the power to make decisions in that area of the business. Big difference. I'll do a whole video just on that. Actually, I have done it on my YouTube channel. You can go find it. So you'll be on the people front, you'll be hiring people. On the business process front, you'll be documenting. And you'll also be creating new processes. So those will evolve. So evolutionary growth of your business process. The same thing happens with the technical processes. So things that you used to do as an individual will become business processes, then will become automated technical processes. And that's kind of the way it goes in these last few stages, is you're wanting to push things out of the manual into processes and technical process, business processes and technical processes. The other thing to be thinking about, dang, what just crossed my mind? How to scale? No, that's it. That was it. Talking about evolving. That was it. One thing that you really need to do during the growth stage, you should have been doing it all along, but it's super important during the growth stage, is you need to be holding retrospectives. Retrospective is a time that you take as an organization, you come together and you talk about how things are going. It is not a time when you talk about how the sales of the product are going. It's not where you talk about how this deal or that deal is going. It's where you talk about how you are working together as a team, because this will help you evolve. It'll help you with the people problems that you'll end up with having. It'll help you with technical problems. Retrospective is a time to reflect back on how you're doing. And it should take, you know, every 2 weeks maybe, get together for, your leadership team should get together for about 90 minutes. I know, 90 minutes every 2 weeks. But the value that will come out of that will greatly exceed that 90 minutes. And you need to get together and talk together about how you're working. And out of that, you want to come up with one experiment, something you're going to try that month or that 2 week time period, and see if it works to improve whatever it was you decided that was the most important problem to work on. At the beginning of the next retrospective, you go, hey, did it work? Yes, great, we'll keep doing it. No, it didn't work. Okay, then let's try and find something else that will work. So retrospectives are the key, honestly, to the growth stage. They are what will make you grow. In addition to this process of moving from manual processes to technical processes. So that's what I have for you. That is the last video on the growth stage of a startup. Next time we will talk about the expansion stage and what that means to you as a startup. But I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I love you all. Talk to you soon.